This isn't a story that I've told many, but it's an exciting story. So as I said, I've actually done black dog before. My first black dog, I think, was in 2013, and I just got my licence. And we went from Swan Valley to 2J. Okay. I was riding in particular for my cousin, who was an army man, and he suicided in 2004. He's from WA, but he's based in Queensland. I put a picture of him in his army gear on my bike for that day, and I was riding for Nigel. So Nigel on the back, we all rode out to 2J. We were quite behind in the group, so by the time we got to 2J, there was no parking. So we had to park quite a way out of town. Got a parking spot, backed in, off we went to have some lunch, blah, blah, blah. I think there was a presentation or something as well in the grounds there, so we did all that. Got back to the bike, and there was a note on my bike. And I don't know if I'm going to start crying. The note said, I'm not going to use surnames, but the note said, if this is Nigel, please call me. And I'm going, what is going on? Like, Nigel's based in Queensland, or was based in Queensland. He is from Perth, but based in Queensland. I'm shaking.
I can imagine.
And I had an hour to ride back home before I had this phone call, make this phone call. So I got home, and I'm like this, and I made the phone call, and I don't think he was there, or the person was there on the end of the phone. So I'm going to now read you the story from the other person's side of the view, but he can't be here today. But he wanted to tell his side of the story, so I'm going to read that now.
Amazing.
So this is Brad. So he says, a few years ago, he can't remember the exact date, it was 2013, I was invited to a ride in the annual Black Dog motorcycle rally to raise much needed funds and awareness of male suicides across Australia. This event is incredibly important to me due to the number of close friends over the recent years that have killed themselves suffering severe depression. One was my very best friend I was lucky enough to serve with in the army back in the late 80s. His name is Nigel, and was probably one of the funniest, kindest and all-round good blokes you could ever need as a friend. Was he a perfect angel? No. But that's what made him the man he was, a lovable rogue. Nigel took his own life in July of 2004, and I wasn't made aware of it for at least 2 years later due to the fact that I was overseas. Where this story really takes a sharp turn is this sharp turn in the street. I arrived in the wheatbelt town of 2J as part of the Black Dog ride. 300 other motorbikes were also going to the cause. Parking was initially a problem because there was lots of bikes there. So he completed a full lap of 2J with no luck finding a spot to park my bike. It was so irritating that I was almost planning to skip the ride or skip the official ceremony and ride back home. He lives in Beverley. As this thought passed through my brain, luck fell on my side as a random bike was leaving and waved me into their spot. I parked up, removed my helmet, and immediately heard these two pedestrians talking about a picture of a soldier taped to the back of the seat of a bike. One guy said, "Hey, weren't you in the army? You may know this guy." He had a look and replied, "Nah, he's an MP." I was in infantry. This triggered my alarm bell, so I decided to have a look at the photo, and bugger me dead. It was my long lost best mate Nigel. What was even more freaky was I actually took that photo of Nigel in his passing out parade as a military school of police. So I went on, as Brad's saying, on to a personal mission to find out the owner of the bike that knew Nigel, and I'm shaken.
Yeah.
And I was desperate to make contact. I walked everywhere, it seemed, from shop to coffee outlet and even to the local pub with no luck. Unfortunately, I had work commitments in Beverley and was forced to leave before I could make contact. I scribbled a note and left it on the seat of the bike right next to Nigel's photo. I can't remember exactly what it said, but the words to the effect of, "Here's my name and number, call me as I recognise the MP in the photo and would like to meet you." By the time I arrived back to Beverley, over an hour's ride, a message was left for me to call this random chick by the name of Michelle regarding a note I left on the seat of her bike. I can't explain how excited I was and called it immediately. Michelle told me that she was Nigel's favourite cousin and she was very close to him before he took his own life, and that's the reason she was riding. When I told her he was the main reason for the ride, Michelle and I will always be linked together and destined to be friends for life. I lost a brother I love dearly, but gained a sister in his place, for which I am eternally grateful. Through social media and regular catch-ups, I've become close to all her family, and we've always reflected on the great years we shared with Nigel. So,
Wow.
It's like, Nigel put us together that day.
Yeah.
It was just the most amazing story.
Yeah.
It's just, it's absolutely so bizarre.
Well, I find this in Black Dog, the camaraderie that we get together, and I'll just tell you quickly about this. Along the way, unfortunately, look, Steve's had to stand down because he's got depression real bad. So it's now run. We have our own CEO and board, and that's fine. And Steve only comes along when he needs to. But in 2015, Steve decided to take this ride to America to the first responders, like the police, the fireys, and the Ambos in America. So he put out an expression of interest. 60 people went, met up in New York. I signed up for this deal, and unfortunately, about 3 months after signing up, I lost my own son to suicide. And my wife and I had a little chat, and we said we would devote this to him. We'll ride right across America. So here we are, 60 Aussies, left New York with, I think Minchin was there to see us off from a Harley-Davidson dealership in New York, and we rode right across to Los Angeles, ended up in the Los Angeles Police Department, in fact, going coast to coast. The 60 people on that ride are still contacting each other on a daily basis. About 2 years later, we decided to have a reunion. And because there was some from the eastern states and some from Bunbury, we met up in Port Augusta. And so we just had a weekend there. We all met, and this was amazing. And we did a live cross to the US to the people who organised it at 3 o'clock in the morning or something. But even now, I'm very good friends with probably 70 to 80% of the people on that ride. We all stick together, and you'll go on a ride to Alice Springs, and there'll be 3 or 4 people that you rode with across the states. It's just
it's fate. I'm going to turn my phone off now.